Here with we have Sean from Kichler. He brings over 10 years of experience in landscape lighting from Vancouver. He had his own irrigation and lighting company. And in 2017, Sean sold his company, moved to Ontario, and began working for Kichler. And we also have Shane with him from Linzell. He's the area rep for the Golden Horseshoe area. He brings a high level of customer service experience and solid understanding to landscape builds. He managed operations and renovations at various luxury hotels in the Niagara and the Lake for over 20 years, working closely with contractors to ensure the job was done on time and on budget, probably. Eh? So we'll let them continue and go ahead, and we'll talk to you later.
Great, thanks. Can you guys hear me? Great, thanks, Brad. This is a bit of a monumental day for me. I used to do these all the time, but it has been over 2 years since I've been able to stand in front of a group and actually do this in person again. So this is the first go around. I'm excited, and thanks for everyone coming out today. Again, my name's Sean. I do work for Kichler and cover all of Eastern Canada. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a bit of an introduction about how I fit in, how Shane fits in, and how we fit in with Condon Nurseries. We're going to focus a lot today on why lighting and how to sell lighting. Because if we can't get those pieces covered right away, we don't need to know much about the products or how to install them if we're not selling them. So we'll really focus on that. Typically, we can spend 3 to 4 hours on this stuff, so we've got an hour today. So I'm really going to condense it down and try and hammer out the selling and the quoting and how it all works. We do have videos that are accessible that if you want to know more about lighting techniques and stuff, Shane's going to have some cards up here. We can send you a link and you can download the Kichler videos they're 10, 15 minute kind of tutorials, and that's kind of on lighting techniques and things, which is great because they have better imagery and things that I can't do while I'm standing here today. So who are we? So I'm Sean, so I work for the manufacturer, and Kichler is the manufacturer. Shane works for Linzell Distributing. They're one of our largest distributors in Canada. They're just over on Winona Road, and they have a huge amount of inventory, and that's what they do. They stock inventory and they ship it to people all over Ontario and Quebec. Now we've got Brad and Connie here, and these are kind of a retail location for us to have access to you as contractors, right? So the biggest thing I want to say is that the three of us all work together, and our goal is the same, and that's to support you, right? So we're trying to make it convenient for you to get product where you need it, and have the stuff that you need, and also have the support that you need. So whether you contact Brad, myself, or Shane, we're going to tell you the same price, the same deal, and our big thing is that we work together on this. I said, what's our street cred? I spent 10 years in West Vancouver installing landscape lighting and irrigation, working on landscape projects all the time. It was good. I've been there, understand. We had 7 trucks, 14 guys going. I understand the challenges of running that type of business, what it's like, seasonal, landscape related, also directly to lighting products. And my role here is to help train you guys and help be support to understand how you can do it better. What do you need? If you're having problems with a job or products, I'm there to help out and step in and go, okay, and we'll work to support you and do what we can to get everything done. Now, a bit about you guys. Now, typically, if it's a smaller group, we'll go around and people will introduce themselves. We've only got an hour today, so how many people are actual landscape installers or contractors? Put up your hand. Perfect. Do we have any landscape designers? Landscape architects? Same, kind of fall in the same? All right. What's the others? Anybody else? Do you guys work for landscaping companies or? Great. My next question is, how many people already install lighting? That's good. What percentage of the jobs do you put lighting in?
It's unfortunately not as high as I want.
That's okay. That's why you're here today. Yeah. There we go. All of them. Can she get a sweatshirt for that? And again today, now the other thing I wanted to ask actually is, can you guys tell me, because it's been a bit, right? We've had a lot of change in the last 2 years. What are your biggest challenges you're facing right now in your business? Supply being product? Okay. And I think that goes across, I mean, a lot of people are facing that. So the good thing is customers are used to having to wait because it doesn't matter whether it's a couch or the plants, right? Anybody else? Work, yeah, that's the other big one. Okay, this is awesome. Shay and I were chatting just at lunch. I said, I'm going to ask this question. I said, I can guarantee the two first things are going to be staff and time, right? Like that's a challenge everyone's facing right now. I can tell you we're doing our best to make sure that we have product available. Kishler, we've just moved to a larger warehouse. We have an extra 150,000 square feet to fill up with product. Prior to COVID, we would run an 18-month inventory, meaning that we would always have enough inventory on hand to last us 18 months. That got drained down pretty quick with COVID, but we're still getting product in and out the door pretty quick. So I've got a quick video here that's a bit about Kishler, and we'll give you some of the background and history on where they come from.
For more than 25 years, Kitchler Lighting has been a landscape lighting pioneer, providing you with innovative products across a wide variety of price points and robust customer support. We understand that every project you undertake with us is different, and not all landscape lighting is created equal. That's why we design technology-driven lighting solutions that work with any budget and exceed your and your clients' expectations without sacrificing quality. Our experienced engineering and development teams drive advancements in LED and product technology, delivering comprehensive solutions built for design flexibility, efficiency, and rock-solid performance, so you can easily install reliable, functional landscape lighting that captivates your clients and exceeds their expectations every time. Our product inventory is extensive and ready when you need it. We even design and test our products in-house, from prototype to production. We subject products to rigorous quality assurance evaluations with your specific needs in mind. From UV and temperature testing to weather simulations. That means your finished landscape projects will utilize lighting products that are beautiful today and work exceptionally every year after. Got a challenging project or question? We've got you covered. Our advanced product solutions team is always available to offer expert advice, even working with you to create impressive lighting design plans that will take any landscaping project to the next level. At Kitchler Lighting, we're here to support you every step of the way to help you make every project a success. So get the most out of your next project with landscape lighting solutions and advanced product support designed to enhance your reputation. You have the vision, and we have the lighting solutions and expertise to bring it to light. Kitchler, for pros who know.
So a couple points I want to point out. All the stuff that you saw in that video is actually out of the headquarters in Cleveland, Ohio. So they are one of the only manufacturers that are certified testing laboratories, so they can do their own CSA approvals. They have the photometrics gauge. The facility is unbelievable. There is a team of 5 engineers who all they do is that work. They do have a whole prototype division where all they do, and they have the coolest shop you can ever imagine because they have everything from metal, plastic, 3D printing, you name it, paint booths, and they can take a drawing and actually have a working prototype in 3 days, right? And it's a pretty neat facility. We do try and get people down there on tours. If you ever get the chance, it's so worth it because it's just cool to see how it all works. But there's also the R&D is down there, so they do have the rain room. They have guys, I think there's 3 people on staff who all they try and do is destroy product, right? They put it through every test you can imagine to try and get it to fail. You know, and we're not perfect. We do have stuff that hasn't worked as well as we hoped, but we will always try and do the best we can. And that's the other thing, is that when things do not work as they should, that's where Kitchler is outstanding about saying, hey, come on, we'll fix this and make it right. And that's probably one of the best things I find working for them is I have the confidence to say, or stand in front of you guys and say, no, I can guarantee you we'll make it right. So next thing I want to say is, you guys have invested the time to be here. What you get out of today is what you're going to put into it. I would much rather that we have an engaging conversation where you're asking questions, comments, feedback. Get involved. It's way more entertaining for me that way, and I think everybody gets a whole lot more out of it. So feel free if you have any questions, comments, or if you want to share an experience you've got, that's great. Let me ask this, why sell landscape lighting?
Because it looks great.
Yeah.
It enhances the outdoor experience in the evening.
Ooh, that sounds good.
There's extra profit in it for me.
All right, so what does your job look like at night otherwise? Right? When it can be lit up. So yeah, why sell lighting? We talked about it. Highlights your work, makes your jobs look better. It's an upsell to a job that we got out here, right? All of those exceed expectations of a customer. And what's your number one driver for business and jobs that you get? Referrals, right? That's why I'm going to keep coming back to exceeding customer expectations. Why? Because that's your biggest source of customers is referrals from friends and friends or other customers you've had. So all of these factors help contribute to more revenue and more profit. What's hard about selling lights? You know, for the people here who haven't done it, why haven't you done it before? And this isn't a bad thing. I'm just asking the question. Why haven't you done it before? What's intimidating? Okay, good point. He's not an electrician for anyone who didn't hear it. Yeah, they think they can do it themselves.
When they go to Home Depot and see the $20 light fixture, yeah, that's the problem. The quality level. But then next year I get it back when that $20 fixture's failed. Yeah, the garbage ones from Home Depot.
Yeah. Good shit ain't cheap and cheap shit ain't good. So, and you know what? Kichler at one point, I will say we did have a line of products that was sold at Lowe's. That agreement has been discontinued since February. So I know that it occasionally comes up where they see, and Kichler was on the box, wasn't prominent, but it was there. That stuff is all, whatever you do see now is clearance, and most of it's gone to a clearance center. So that's no longer going to be in there for this exact reason, that we are a contractor-based company, and we're not selling retail. So yeah, what's hard about selling lights? Cost, right? That kind of comes back to our Home Depot comment. They can find it cheaper somewhere else. Lack of customer understanding. They don't know what's involved in putting it in, and typically most people think landscape lighting is some path lights down the side of the sidewalk. Anybody can do that. Lack of confidence and experience, right? And that goes both on the customer and on the contractor. If you're talking to the homeowner and you're not confident about what it's going to look like or why they should have it, they're not sure either. And if you don't have experience doing it, then it's a little harder to be confident. And that's kind of why you're here today, is to find out more, understand more, so that you can be more confident, have more experience going forward. And again, Shane's here, I'm here. Like, if you guys come across a job where you've got somebody and this is a big opportunity, but you don't quite know what to do, that's, again, one of the reasons we're here, is we'll go right on site with you and go, we can talk with the homeowner. You know, we can help you lay out a job. Because I'll be honest, don't be shy. Everybody starts somewhere, and you don't get to the next level without trying. But there's lots of support here for you to help make that happen. Right? Now my next thing is, the first one we talked about is cost. How much would you pay for this painting? It was a Picasso. It was sold at an auction a few years ago. Come on, somebody throw a number. Throw me the biggest number you think. How much? $5. Okay, well, it's a Picasso. Okay, we had 20 million. That's a lot of money, right? It's sold for $106 million. Well, but this comes back to, you go, what's the point? My point is that this painting, what somebody paid for the painting was irrelevant to what the canvas cost, what the paint cost, or how much time it took, right? It's about what it looks like and what it means for them. So our whole principle behind selling lights is sell the picture, not the fixture, right? So if you're talking to Mrs. Wiggins about putting lights in your backyard, the last thing we actually want to see you do is walk up and show a light. What's the light mean? Nothing. But if you talk to Mrs. Wiggins about how nice that Japanese maple is going to look when it's all lit up, or you know what, that new deck that you're putting on, we'll put some hardscape fixtures under the railing. It'll be super nice, and you can walk out in the evening and you can see. If you're talking and selling the whole picture and what it's going to look like when it's done, you'll be way more successful. The other thing is, I also say, if I was building an addition, a garage onto my house, would I build a garage without any lights? Probably not. So the lighting really does help complete your job, because we just said it makes it look better, it highlights your work, it also extends the usable time in somebody's backyard. Now the other thing, while I'm on that, it's a bit of a tangent, but most people, if you talk to them about landscape lights, what they're going to think about in their head is they're thinking about a July, or sometime in the summer, it's warm and they're sitting on the patio with their friends and how nice the lights look. Sure, that's one benefit, but I can guarantee you the one big thing when people appreciate them the most is when the clocks go back and the days get short. Because when they have their backyard lit up, instead of them looking out the sliding door, or the bay window, or whatever they're looking at and seeing sheer black, they look out and now they see the beautiful work that you did, and it gives them that sense of space, and they still admire it, even though it can be November, December, January, whatever month of the year is, it gives that sense of perception and they can see out. And that's a huge one, is that people, we talk about the customer's perception, is that they automatically assume it's when they're sitting out there at night, when the reality is most people appreciate it more when the days are short. So, how do we go about this? We want to focus on the effect. Again, not the fixture, right? It's all about what it's going to look like. I'm sure if you guys are selling plants, you know, are you listing off the name of each plant? Or are you talking about what it's going to look like and why it's going to look good there, right? Same with the deck and why should I put a water feature in, all the benefits of that water feature, right? It's about selling the vision and your picture. The other thing is, what I find challenging sometimes about finding landscape lighting photos is that a lot of the professional ones are crazy. And there's a ton of light fixtures in there, and that's where you look at it and go, it's a bit intimidating. How do I get all those in? How does it all work? And I will tell you right now, even if you're doing a standard backyard and you put in 3 lights, 5 lights, it will make a huge difference, right? So a lighting job doesn't have to be 25, 50 lights or whatnot. Even just 3 to 5 can make a huge difference. And it's better than none. Again, all this is meant so that when the job's done, when it's just included in the quote, Mrs. Wiggins' place is done. She wasn't expecting lighting necessarily, but the first night when it comes on and she looks, it's like, oh my God. And then she's excited about it. She's sharing it with her friends, and you know, that's what they're talking about, and they love it, and it looks great, and they're proud of your work. So if you don't believe me on that front, we'll look at it this way. We did a lot of customer research. We started asking people with landscape lights who had them in their house if they asked for them or not. Customers who asked for lighting only accounted for 7.5% of the customers. So if you're sitting out there right now and you're waiting for the homeowner to bring it up or tell you that they want them, you're missing 92.5% of the market, right? And this comes back to people being aware of what they are and what it's going to look like and why they might want them. Now we asked, does this approach work? As I said before, usually I do these seminars constantly. We're going on the road and doing it, particularly this time of year. And the number of times I'd see a face that was there that had been there a year before or 2 years before, and it was the most rewarding part is when someone would stick up their hand and say, yeah, it works. I was here 2 years ago, and I used to do 10 lighting jobs a year, and I went with this approach, and now it's 80-90% of the jobs they do are lighting, and they're now back because they want a bit of a refresher. They want that confidence again. They want to be a part of it. So does it work? Yes. Right? And I'm not saying it's the only approach or this is the only approach. There's a lot of ways to go about things. What I'm trying to give you guys today is more tools in the toolbox to help sell this stuff. The other big thing is quotes. For those who do lighting now, how do you quote a lighting job?
Just take what I pay for the fixtures and then I double it.
Okay. There's at least some reasoning to that. Typically what we find, and there may be people who do irrigation because they tend to do the same thing, is irrigation, they just do a flat price per zone, or guys will say it's $400 a fixture, right? That's how a lot of guys do it. The problem is you don't know how much money you're making on a job necessarily. Usually you'll come out okay, but you're just throwing a number out. So we want to talk a little bit about quotes. And I'll tell you, especially now when you're busy and don't have a lot of time, if you're not getting jobs, you know, if your closing rate isn't high, you're just wasting time doing quotes you're not getting. So, how do you quote your lighting jobs? What's included in your quote? How many prices do you provide? And what's it look like? So if we're going to do a quote for a lighting job, what do we need to know?
How much wire, how many lights.
The outside plug, the power source,
Okay, transformer.
labor.
You're missing one, man. You're one short and you're getting a hoodie. There's one other thing we need to know if we're going to do a job. Exactly, labor. Right? Because those are the only 4 things we know, and we can figure out how much the job's going to cost pretty quick. I also said provide 2 price options. Why would you want to provide 2 price options? Well, how many people get only 1 quote before they get a job? Right? So if we give them 2 prices, then they have a bit of an option, and you're competing against yourself then in this case, right? The other thing, and this is my favorite point, how often you go and talk to a customer, and you talk, and the scope of their project is up here, and when you get to the budget conversation, where's the scope of the budget? Yeah, it's a lot down here, right? So here's what we recommend. Option A meets the budget, but probably doesn't meet the scope, right? So if we're talking and you're saying, you know, we'll probably allocate $10,000 or however much, and they kind of wince at that, you're like, okay, well, or if they don't have anything budgeted, you can put in, you know, what meets the budget, but doesn't necessarily meet the scope. The next one meets the scope, but probably doesn't meet the budget. Which one do you think people go for? Nobody wants the shitty one, right? And the other, yeah?
I sometimes find where I get the option A, and I tell them, I will put in a little bit more powerful transformer than you need, and we'll do most of it with the option to upgrade to more lights or more fixtures, lighting up more things. And then within a year, they call you back and go, I need more lights.
100%.
And that's the upsells. Because it's, like you said, it's way up here, and they can't afford that, but they can afford a few $1,000s on lighting, and they almost always come back to you as long as it's an upgrade option.
Exactly, and that comes back to they don't understand they don't understand the value in what they're putting in until they have it, and then they appreciate it, and then they want more. And I was talking to Shane about this at lunch, right? And I was saying the funny thing is if you get a case like that where you're running wire through and there's 3 accent fixtures in the backyard, but you're like, man, this maple tree would look awesome, and you know, this pergola whatever look great. I'd have guys run a loop of wire and run the tail in when it was there, and you let them know when you leave. You go, we also think these would look great, but we've left wire there so we can come back and put a light in. And the number of times they'd call you back and say, hey, we want that. And then they also go, and my wife really likes the one by the path here. Can we do some more in the back? And you're like, oh, absolutely, right? So it leaves the opportunity to do a repeat job. My great example of this, because people sometimes say, nah, they only want to spend 25 grand on their project. They want to spend 100 grand on their project. I love looking out in the parking lot and looking at your guys' trucks. And I have no qualms with how nice they are because you spend all day in it and you work hard. You want to be comfortable. You want to like your truck. That's great. But I can probably say when it comes time for you guys to replace your trucks or buy a truck, you got a number or payment in your head that you want to spend, right? And you go to the dealership or you go wherever, and you look at that truck and you do this and you do that. When you leave, you've probably spent more than you wanted to when you walked in that door, but you love your truck and you're happy with it. And the homeowner's the same. They have a number in their head. When they're talking to you about doing the landscape and things, they have that number that they want to spend. But there's a good chance by the time you're done, they've spent more than that. They love you for it, and they love their backyard, right? So this is the same idea. Does anyone disagree with that? It's totally, I just ordered a truck in January, right? I had a number in my head, and it's going to cost more than that, but I'm excited to get my truck.
You'll get it in 4 years.
Yeah, maybe. So I did a couple of examples, right? Because typically we get a lot of people who they do it price per fixture. And I'm not saying you ever show this to the customer. It's kind of like showing them one of those lights. I don't ever want them to see this, but I want you to understand where the money is and how much you should be doing. So this is a really simple job. There's only 6 fixtures on there, right? Oh, one other thing. When we talked about what we needed what we needed to know to do a quote, one of them was labor. How do you know how much time it takes? How do you judge how much time it's going to take to install a lighting job? After 10 years and sending guys out to do it all the time, half hour per fixture is pretty consistent, right? So that's what I'm going to put in here for labor. So if there's 10 lights, 2 guys could get it done in 5 hours, right? And that was after, the odd job, it takes a little bit longer because they run into whatever their issues there are. other jobs will be a lot faster. But that's a good benchmark to know if you're sending guys out to it. The other thing is when they knew that's what I expected, they had a target to try and hustle and get them done in that time frame versus if I just said, come back to me when you're done. So in this case, we've got 6 fixtures plus the transformer. So we've said 4 hours, right? We're at a 42% margin on just 6 lights. You know, that number's not that huge, but my point is that 40% margin should be bare minimum. Kind of coming back to what you say, typically the job should be at double your materials and labor, right? It's all dependent on the market. The other thing is, what I like to ask this question, it'll be interesting because I haven't got a chance to ask it for a few years. What are you guys charging for labor right now? What's reasonable? Is $80 reasonable for a guy? 80. See, you know, is that 80 was the higher end 2 years ago. But, you know, there's a shortage. People are used to paying more. They want, you know, and you're having to pay more for staff because it's harder to find staff. Hopefully you're also getting better quality staff and such. But it's interesting. And some guys will balk, say, I can't charge $80 an hour. But when you really factor in, I think, again, the perception is that you've just got a truck and some stuff and it's easy to be a landscaper. Well, by the time you put the truck, the trailer, and all that stuff, it's also pretty quick for you guys to have a whole lot of money tied up in equipment to get the job done. And you got to pay for that equipment. So $80 doesn't actually go a whole long way. So that might be higher. I worked out $32 an hour was my cost on a guy when I put that in. That's because I'm assuming that you're paying him $25 an hour, and on top of that, you have your receiver general and all your other remittances. So that number actually looks like 32, right? So that's just to give you a bit of an idea. Typically, what we're finding in this area is anywhere from $300 to $400 per fixture is what guys are charging, and that's always a good benchmark. Like you do this and you go, okay, what's it work out to per fixture, and you can get an idea where you fall into. But right now, I think this one's about $271 a fixture. So that, again, is also on the low end, right? So there's no reason why you're not making $800 on this job. Same thing. We did a few more lights. We do another one. And I punch these in to go, where does it fall, right? It's 36%. But it's also $700. Now, here's where we go. You send 2 guys out for a day and now all of a sudden they're bringing you an extra $1,400. And a lot of this stuff, that's based on if you walked in and weren't there already. But in a lot of the cases, when you're doing things already, you can sleeve the wire. You can do things that make it easier and faster, which then sweetens that number at the end of the day. How do you present yourself, right? How do you guys send a quote right now? Okay. Now, do you guys use LMN or something? Anybody? LMN for quoting and things? QuickBooks, yeah. I'm familiar a bit with LMN. I used to my accounting QuickBooks. But LMN was a great tool for getting the numbers. It was awful at spitting out a presentation or a quote, right? It would just, it was all, it didn't make much sense, right? Your quote is a chance for you to hand somebody to sell yourself again. So, what I found, the best parts were, I'd have a cover page with my logo on it. I think there was a guy in here talking about building your brand and things. The more time you can put your logo on and put your face out there, that cover page is a great opportunity, and it also kind of packages up the quote. I put a table of contents in. Why would you put a table of contents in your quote? Yeah, because I can tell you one thing. If I hand the quote to Mrs. Wiggins, what's she going to look for? She wants to know she's getting that spotlight on her rose garden. Mr. Wiggins, what do you think he's looking at? He wants to know how much it's going to cost for that light, right? But if they can find it quick and easy and they're not having to search through, don't find it frustrating, it helps build them confidence and it makes it easy for them to make a decision. Now they've seen the price and they're good with that. They want to know a bit about you. Again, this is one more opportunity for you to sell yourself. Not a huge, long section, but it is. We've been in business for 25 years, or this is our 10th anniversary. Whatever it is, everybody out here has their own business. There should be something you're proud of, right? Put that in there. We also want to do a little bit about low voltage lighting, right? Do we need an electrician? No, right? Because it is low voltage. It's it's just a little bit, again, to make them comfortable with this decision, that this is a good idea. There's lots of statistics that say that it will improve a landscape value by 10%, all this other stuff you can find online. Exactly, it's energy efficient. It provides, in the US, they always talk about how it provides security because they're not Canadians, right? Then we get into the job description and price. And even the job description is about describing the picture. It's not getting specific about it's a 15805 path light that's going down the path here. It's about the path lights and how they'll be offset and what they'll look like. And it's kind of telling the story and painting the picture. So they go, this sounds really nice, I want this. Then the installation agreement and payment terms. Because I suspect that none of you guys are a bank part-time. So you want to make sure that you get paid. And the one thing I'll tell you myself, it took a few years for me to get confident to ask for a deposit on a job. Because I didn't want people to think that my business needed the money in order to get through it next week, right? That was my perception, but I didn't want to ask for money. And then you get burned once or twice and you realize it's not about the money, it's about making sure they got skin in the game. And especially more than anything now is when you guys are booked a year out and you're holding space for someone, if they bail at the last minute, what does that do, right? So you want to make sure that they're committed and they have skin in the game, and that's the reason for the deposit. And also payment terms. So if you're doing partial draws and things, that they know that there's those checkpoints and what you expect when you're done. Because nobody here wants to finance someone else's backyard. And then warranty. One of our greatest things as Kichler is we have a 10 to 15 year warranty on our products, depending on which products they are. And I will tell you, I process the warranty for Eastern Canada. I never look at the date code on it because I can usually know what's coming down the pipe, and we usually get so little of something that it's not even worth fussing over. So I want to kind of review this stuff quickly, right? Sell the picture, not the fixture. Does this make sense to everyone? Is it something that you're going to take away from today, or was it something you kind of figured out already? Okay. Budget lighting in all of your quotes, right? Because if it's there, you're hitting that 92.5% of the population that has lights that didn't ask about them. Provide 2 price points. And I'll go back to, doing one of these a couple years ago. A guy said, he goes, wait, I give him 3. Guess where his third one is? His third one is somewhere between A and B. Guess which quote has the highest margin for him in it? The middle one. And he would do that on purpose because it gave them choice, and he knew that they would compromise and go for the one in the middle, and that's the one he'd make the most money on. I thought it was brilliant. Ensure you price your jobs accurately, right? And that's what I'm saying is if you just do a flat, it's $300 a fixture or whatnot, sometimes it works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. And at least if you know where you're making your money and focus on the ones that you do make the money on, you're going to be more successful. And format your quotes, the reflection of you and your business. And the reason I harp on this is when I was in university, I had 2 papers due at the same time. One I had done really well, the other one not so much. And I literally went and filled it with bullshit, put a lot of graphs, photos, did a table of contents, all this stuff, made it look good. I got them back, and which one do you think I had a better mark on? The one that looked good. And I was frustrated because the first paper I'd done was really good, and I put a lot of work into it, but I didn't get the same mark as the one that I knew nothing about, but I just made it look good. So I'll tell you, that was a lesson for me, is to make this stuff, it's a reflection of you. All of this stuff comes back to exceeding expectations, that people are happy, and you're getting more referrals. That kind of wraps up our selling stuff. Can somebody tell me one thing they're going to take away from today?
3 quotes, and you include it on every job I post.
There we go. Give him he deserves a sweatshirt at this point. Come on, anybody else? What else is the takeaway so far? Sell the picture. Can you give that guy a hoodie at the back? It is hard. And you know what? One of the things we always say, hey, you guys send us some of your great photos. But guess what? Nobody wants to send us their own photos because they don't want them to get used, right? Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to get. And then what I do find is when they do professional shoots, and this, like Kichler, we do have a bunch of images. But it's like I said, their images start to look like this, and they get, you know, you look and go, well, this is great, but there's 50 and 60 fixtures on. And if I use that today, people look and go, oh man, that looks like a big job, I'm not sure. Versus if we can look at some stuff and go, no, this is 3 fixtures, 5 fixtures. You know, it's a whole lot easier to understand. And the more you do it, the more you see. And Brad, we were talking about this at lunch, that once you start to get into it and do it, as you're driving around, you start to notice other jobs. You notice what you like, what you don't like, certain things about it, but you start to pick up more as you go. And I will tell you this, there are very few things in landscape lighting that are completely wrong. It's kind of like painting that picture, right? The more creative you can get, the better stuff looks.
Just to add to sales on stuff, I think the biggest thing is if you don't have photos, is once you start getting into it, doing your own project, our own house, we've lit up and we have clients come to our house and we turn it on with remote control, stand in the dark backyard, you turn the lights on, it sells every time.
100%.
And I think that's the big thing, making sure that projects that you've done, whether you sold that one cheap because it's your first project, you bring clients to that. Because when people are spending money, you just say, is it worth their time to come see your work? Or are they just getting 50 quotes? If they want to come see, hey, do you want to see my work? Come to our property, come to this house over here, it's close to you. They will make the drive. The clients will make the effort to see what it's going to look like.
And there's, reminds me of 2 points, which is great. One of them is, 100%, if you're doing your own house, let us know. We will give you the best deal we possibly can. For part of it, that reason. But again, how are you supposed to sell it and install it if you don't have it yourself? The second thing it reminds me of, and I'm hoping Brad went to get it, is that there is a demo bucket that we have, which has a small transformer and about 3 or 4 light fixtures and a bunch of wire. The idea is that you don't need to bury the wire and make it look good. It's to show the homeowner what a few trees lit up is going to look like. Now I understand that they have the demo buckets here and they have them to loan them out. So they take a deposit, you can take it out, you can actually put a few lights in their yard and leave it for a couple days, come back, collect the lights, bring it back, and get the deposit back. So I think Brad would be the one to ask about that. Linzell does sell the demo buckets as well, so you can have your own that stays in the truck the whole time. Here we go, he's bringing one over. They're about $400 to purchase. But again, if you can borrow it from here, it's just put a deposit out. What's the deposit? $100. Deposit, and you get 95 back. And that's exactly the same idea, right? Is that most of the time when people see them lit up, they don't want you to take it away. And they go, that was one tree. And also, even just do one tree, but really do it well so they get the idea of what it looks like.
I have a question about warranty.
Yep.
I have a customer that I put lights in, but some of the lights that the previous homeowner had put up that are the same product, I'm sure they're from Linzell as well. Do I just bring the light fixture back, or because I don't have any proof of purchase or nothing?
If it's a Kichler product, we'll take it back. Yeah. See, and these are all the good things to ask, and it's good things to know. And thanks for asking that, because now everyone else knows that if you go to a job and there's a Kichler product there, you don't know who did it, it's okay, we'll still look after it.
When you go to, if you give the husband, if you let him hold one of the lights, if it's a Kichler light, they do, that's selling because it's heavy, right? They like feeling.
Size does matter.
It's heavy, right? It doesn't feel like a plastic thing from Walmart.
No, and that's a good point. And I will tell you, I'm going to jump into some of the product stuff here. A lot of this stuff, Linzell sells a boatload of product for us, and I will tell you, every time we come out with a new light or we revise a light, they have a fish tank in their offices, and guess where the first place our light goes? In a fish tank. And I will tell you that these hardscape fixtures, our Gen 3s, and the 1.5 have all spent 4 months before they gave up. They were cycling on and off in their fish tank, in their shop, and they finally gave up because it's like they're not going to die. And they are an incredibly reliable product. So we'll get into our products a little bit. We work on a good, better, best scenario, and this can also help tie into, if you're doing the quotes, as you can start to go swap product out to go from the best one to a good one to a better one that's going to help bring that budget number down, that'll fit in, that'll still achieve the objective you're looking for, right? So the good is our Centennial brass line, right? We've got a bunch of accent lights, they're all brass. Now these are a drop-in fixture, meaning you take an LED bulb and you put it in the fixture. That LED bulb will probably need some attention at some point, but it gets the price point down where we need it. There's a 6-year warranty on the bulbs and the sockets, and a lifetime on the brass, which means that if you put a brass fixture by the pool, it shouldn't tarnish, shouldn't happen. If it does, it's covered under warranty, but there is a lifetime warranty on the finish. And that 15-year warranty on the other products as well, that's not just whether it works or not, but if it still looks good. So if you ever get the paints bubbled, peeled, cracked, whatever, we will warranty the fixture because it doesn't look good anymore. Right? There's a mini in-ground fixture. Now you can see that's the same fixture, it just has 3 different tops on it. Incredibly handy fixture. The one I'd say we probably use the most is the top one, that's the cowl. It's not meant to direct light, it's meant to stop glare. It's great for putting on the side of stairs, shooting across, at the bottom of pillars going up, right? You don't get any glare, and you can easily shoot about 8-10 feet. So there's times you can just bury that one in the side and light up a step from the side. And it's also a really great price point. The specialty, there's the pendant lights. These are great over outdoor dining areas, places like that. And of course, the path lights. Now, as I said, most consumers think landscape lighting, they think of path lights. We try and steer clear of path lights. Does anyone know why? Yeah, exactly. First of all, I'll tell you, path lights tend to be the most expensive fixtures, right? So if you're dealing with a budget, you take the most expensive fixture that's the most susceptible to getting damaged. Because you know what happens? Dogs hit them. Kids kick them. You know, the mailman comes running up. No, go ahead. And drop trees on them. Oh, all the time. Path lights, and they're hard. Like, and the other thing that I will tell you is that maybe in California and Arizona they're a better option. But what do we have going on outside right now? Snow clearing, freeze thaw. So you have a bunch of lights stuck in the ground. They look beautiful. Then we get a frost and it freezes and it heaves a little bit one way, but they don't all heave the same way. So they start to, they don't look great. And again, they take a beating. And they're the most expensive fixture. There are great applications for them and they can look nice, but keep that in mind if you're trying to deal with a tight budget, is to find other ways to achieve the same objective without using a path light. So we go from our good, which is typically our brass stuff, the Centennial or CBR line, to our better, and that's these guys right here. Now none of them they're not on, but we can show you some on later, right? It's a fully integrated LED fixture. That means that there is no bulb to service, there is no bulb to change out, and it does have a 10-year warranty. So if anything goes wrong with it within 10 years, bring it back and we replace it. Now this fixture, oh, got too far. AZT, that's the brown color. BKT is black. CBR, again, we can have it in a brass finish. So that's kind of the better. Now, if we go to the best, I got a little video that's going to show you stuff. I have some more hoodies. If you guys can remember some of this stuff, I might be able to give some more.
Once again, Kichler is rewriting the rules for integrated LED flexibility and reliability. Variable lumen output is the new standard in landscape lighting design versatility and installation. Every VLO fixture delivers 3 lumen outputs that you can change easily on site with a magnetic key, without the increased risk of failure associated with a mechanical adjustment. The smart technology allows contractors to create more customized lighting effects upon the initial install while carrying fewer fixtures. Plus, VLO fixtures can adjust to a landscape's needs over time. Just size your transformer based on the highest volt ampere you expect to use, and you're ready for anything. The fixtures are conveniently factory set at the most popular lumen level for maximum contractor efficiency. To change, simply hold the included magnetic key over the lumen adjustment locator, and the light will blink 4 times to tell you it's ready for programming. Hold the magnet over the switch locator, and the light will blink according to its lumen level. 1 blink for level 1, 2 for level 2, and 3 blinks for level 3. In seconds, you're done. No exposure to the elements, reduced risk of failure. VLO fixtures feature Kichler's latest custom optics for uniform, crisp light, as well as 6,000 volt surge protection to guard against power irregularities that can be a hazard to LED landscape lighting. And of course, you get Kichler's incredible landscape lighting dependability and performance. Variable Lumen Output, VLO. Just one more way Kichler products and support are with you every step of the way, so you can deliver a beautiful and functional end effect every time. Visit Kichler.com/VLO Accent or contact our Advanced Product Solutions team for layout ideas and guidance.
Perfect. So can somebody tell me what VLO is and why is it important? Or what's the benefit? Yeah, variable lumen output, which means?
It will get more intensity light, and so as your gardens grow, you can light more or less.
This man gets a sweatshirt. So yeah, a lumen is a metric for measuring the amount of light. So the more lumen that are coming out of a light fixture, the more light that's coming out. So we have a variable lumen output. It means that we essentially have a low, medium, and high setting. So one of the examples of what does it mean? As trees and things grow, you have the option to increase the amount of light that comes out of it, right? The other thing is, like I said, lighting is based on someone's perception. So you might think it looks great, but Mr. Wiggins wants that tree to be brighter. You know what? Now it's pretty simple. You go and hit it, bump it up, and you get a little more light coming out of it, or vice versa. They say, this is really bright. Is there any way to make it softer? 100%. There are 2 color options. So there's the 2700 and there's 3000. As far as having an RGB, like different colors, that's not available yet. And some of that has to do with, they did have it available, but there's a question about how much the market really is there for that stuff because they get expensive real fast. Oh, 5,000? We do have a couple of downlights that are custom order. They're custom order, but they're in the warehouse in Cleveland that are 5,000 Kelvin because there are times when you're trying to do a full moonlight that you want that really bright, bluey crisp light. It is available in some fixtures. So, a couple of other things. The surge protection. That's a big selling feature for us because when LED products first came out, you could have a yard, particularly in this area we live in, and there's a storm that has thunder, lightning strikes, you get the static electricity going through the ground. Electronics don't like those surges. They would blow the drivers in. So now each fixture has its own surge protector, meaning if there's a strike or they get a sudden spike in power, the light will just flash and reset itself. What does that mean? It means that you're not getting the call to go out and there's a whole yard where every single fixture needs to be replaced. The reason we use a magnetic switch is a couple things. Then the fixture is set digitally, meaning it's very precise and everyone's the same, versus having a manual knob where you can get some differences as you go. The other big thing is it's completely sealed, so there's no point for dirt or moisture or anything to get in, which makes it more robust. Same with, if you look at the bottom, the knuckle where the screw is where it hinges, that's completely separate and sealed off from all the electronics. Again, so there is nowhere for there to be moisture and dirt to get in, which causes the fixture to fail. The other big thing I will point out is they have a constant current driver right at the top there, 9 to 15 volts, right? The one challenge with low voltage lighting is the further you run the wire, you do lose some power just delivering it. It's kind of the equivalent of friction, right? In the original days before LED, the bulbs would actually get dimmer as you went, and you had to factor that in. What we've done is we put a constant current driver in, so you can run huge amounts of wire. As long as you have over 9 volts, the light will shine exactly the same. They can also go up to 15 volts and look exactly the same. And the nice thing is our transformers, which we'll get to shortly, they also have a 15 volt output. So what we recommend is put it on the 15 volt output. If you have it drop along the way, the light and the transformer will compensate for any math that you used to have to do up here. It just makes it easier for you. That's really what it means. It's easier and simpler, smaller margin for error. So yeah, each one has 3 output settings. It's trying to show an example. I think you get the idea. It's a low, medium, and high. The other thing is they come in beam spreads. Typically what you get is a 10 to 15 degree, a 35, and a 60. So the idea is a narrow beam will push light up higher. So if you have one of those tall, narrow cedar trees or things and you want to get the light to push up all the way to the top, a narrow beam will do that. 35 degree is the workhorse. You can do 95% of the stuff you want with a 35 degree fixture. And please don't get hung up on this too much, because you know what? Most people will never know the difference. And we get guys who are so hung up on it, it's like, dude, don't worry about it. It's going to look good either way. If we really want to get technical, I can show you the differences between the two. But it's good to know, because there might be times that it's obvious and you go, this is what I want, it's going to look better. So the good, better, best, right? Our good stuff is the CBR. Then we have the 1.5 where you go into a fully integrated fixture, meaning it's sealed, it's got the 10-year warranty. Then you go to the best, and you can adjust the output. You've got a 15-year warranty and less service again. Transformers. Does anyone not know what the transformer's for? Somebody at the back. And if you're probably not the only one, no one else was just courageous enough to put up their hand. So the transformer plugs into a standard outlet that's coming out at 120 volts, right? Goes through the transformer, and then it comes out in 12 volts, right? 12 volts, I say this, most guys, because we tend to be stupid enough, how many guys when you were a kid licked a 9-volt battery? Yeah, see? And Emily, there's a few, right? So this puts out at 12 volts, so it's just slightly higher than that. So you might feel a slight tingle, but that's about it. So as far as working with it and being safe, you could theoretically wire them up with the transformer on. You just get a little bit of a buzz in your fingers as you go, right? So the transformer steps down the power from the 120 to 12 volts. And that's what we mean when we say low voltage, which also means why we can just do direct burial, because it's not really a safety concern. So that being said, we have different size transformers. And then the next part about, you can see here that there's the transformers, but the next thing is, how do we control them? Right, so typically, in the good old days, you put a timer and a photocell in, or you could go with an astrological timer where you put your location and it would figure out dusk to dawn. We've caught up with technology a little bit, and what we've come out with recently is it's a smart control timer. So this plugs into the transformer, and then it allows you to use an app, either Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, to program and control the fixtures. Now there's a couple really cool things, because like Brilliance has this. You can go to Home Depot and buy one of the little cubes. You can do all that stuff. But I'm going to tell you there's a few big differences. One, there's an antenna. Because what happens to any wireless device when you put it inside a stainless steel box and close the door? Your range drops. Unbelievable. The other thing is, if you're dealing with somewhere where you can't get a Wi-Fi signal, it's also Bluetooth, which means that you can stand in front of it, use the same app, and program it, and the information once programmed stays in the device. So if you don't have a Wi-Fi signal, you can just program it with Bluetooth. the antenna, and that's a huge one. If anyone's installed those Brilliance cubes, hey, they work great, but the problem is as soon as you close the door, it's often enough that all of a sudden you can't use the Wi-Fi. The other thing is that it will fit not only in our transformers, but pretty much anyone out there. Which means if you're going to a job and they have a transformer there already, that you can upsell them and say, hey, we can make it controlled from your phone, and it's a whole lot easier, and you can drop that in as well. The other thing is this has, I believe it's called the layers, is what the technical term is, to work with Alexa and Google Home. So that's already there, so that when you plug it in, it will pick up the device, and then Alexa or Google will turn on and off the landscape lights. So that's what we've got right now. Down the pipe will be a zonable one, so you can turn the front on separate from the back, but that's a little ways down the road. I'm checking my time here. We got 2 minutes left. So that kind of covers the basic products. Again, if you wanted some information about lighting techniques and designs and things, we do have a couple videos. The guy doing the voiceover might put you to sleep a bit. It's not me. But the information he's got is good, and the imagery is good. And it does have some good information. They're 10 to 12 minutes long, and they're great. You can watch them whenever you want. If you'd like that, grab one of Shane's cards. I'll make sure he has the links to them, and you can look at that stuff. If you want me to come down and talk to you more about techniques or go to a job site and help you out that way, that's great. I only had an hour today, and I wanted to make sure that we covered the selling, because if you can't sell them, there's no point in us being here. Yep.
Next question about the good, better, and best. If you're quoting a job based on like $300 to $400 per fixture, where would they fit in? Would you say 300 is good and 400 is best, or 300 is good and they better than 450 or 500?
From the
Just roughly.
So a CBR fixture, ballpark, you're about $100, as in your cost. To go to the large VLO, you're over 200, you're about 220. So there's about $120 in that range, and the 1.5 is somewhere in the middle. So, and that's cost on them, right? So you still have labor and all that stuff. So, and the other thing is you can mix and match. They don't all have to be the same, right? There may be some things that you go, no, I can. If it's really small, like a little Japanese maple, you can use a little CBR fixture that's about $80, and it looks really nice, and it's tucked in down low because that's all you need. And then you use the money on the other stuff that's visible that you want a really big, nice light on. Then so you can mix and match. It doesn't all have to be the same. Yeah, it'll all work together fine. And that's a great question.
What are the Sentinel lights there, sir, that's on top of it? The ones on the
They're not Kichler lights. No, they're a little marker light. Linzell has them. I suspect that we will have something similar soon because they are, from a very technical lighting perspective, putting marker lights in can make it look like a runway, and we can often achieve the same goals by getting creative with accent lights and path lights and things like that we don't have to just line it up like a runway, which is kind of why Kichler's put their heels in a little bit about coming out with something, because they'd rather get the, but that being said, there is a demand for them, and you noticed them and you wanted them, and they sell a ton of them. It's okay, you can say you want them. So can somebody tell me a couple things they took away from today? I always like to know, A, if you're listening, and B, what was the most helpful. I think.
I already told you, just include it in every quote. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The question about the transformer, because I was trying to ask, but sort of along those lines, do you have an off-grid line or option? Like better than dollar store solar, or would it just mean you've got panels on your house, generator, inverter, all that jazz, and then it's all on?
If you could stop recording this, there is another manufacturer out there that Linzell carries that has a solar path light that also has a motion sensor on it. So when you walk by, it will turn on and shut off. That might be good if you're dealing with an off-grid application. Otherwise, yes, we're doing a battery bank and big solar panel. You turn that off, right? No, again, and you know what? I would love to think that Kichler manufactures everything you possibly need, and I love working for Kichler, but the reality is there's other stuff out there. And my perspective is the more I get you guys using lights, the more the industry grows, the more experience you have, the more you'll, and yes, I hope you use our product, and I believe we do have a good product, and I'm more than willing to help you. But just in general, we're promoting the lighting industry and getting more out there. So that's why I will talk about some of the other products, and again, it's to help you guys know that it's out there and get using it.
I was gonna say the variable lumen fixture is awesome, just because, as you said, you got a little Japanese maple. Are you gonna use that fixture? No, but use an autumn blaze maple. You put it as 10 feet tall, but then as it grows to 20, 30 feet, you don't have to take the fixture out and put something more powerful in. You just go there and just make a little adjustment, and there you go.
Yeah, and a lot of the time they do come with that magnet. It's a rare earth magnet, so it's super strong. What we suggest is you just stick one inside the transformer, so that whenever you go to a job site, there's always one hidden in the transformer. Yeah.
So, another brand like Inlight.
Who?
Inlight?
I didn't hear you. What was that? Yeah.
So like they just do that, like quick connect.
No sweatshirt for him.
Well, and you know what? See, this is why I love when you guys ask questions, because it's a really good question, and I got a really good answer for that. A lot of this stuff, the lighting industry is big in California, Arizona, Texas, right? Those climates are all really dry, and they don't see a lot of the weather that we have. Those connectors probably work great there. But I've yet to see a quick connect of any of that nature that is reliable in our climate. And again, we have the freeze thaw, the ground shifts a little bit, right? We have a fair bit of rain and moisture, and that gets in. And what happens is as one fails, then you're starting to overload the other. So typically it's a bit like a snowball effect. That one will go, then you get, as you go, they just become a problem. And then you're back in there taking them out and wiring them in again. On that note, our Gen 1.5 and the Gen 3 that are the better and best come with the King Connect dielectric filled Moretz, which is really what you should be using. The dielectric grease stops any kind of corrosion, and the Moretz is the best way to actually wire it in. And I'd go one step further and take a zap strap, put over the connection, zip it tight, snip the tail off. That way if anyone tugs on the wire, the stress of that is taken on the zap strap holding the wires together versus the actual Moretz holding the electrical connection. Yep.
How do people deal with lighting in heavy snowfall like we have this year? Because they don't, they're cold, not hot.
Well, yes, and the question was, anyone who didn't hear it, how do we deal with lighting in areas we have a large amount of snowfall? One of the big things about an LED fixture compared to an incandescent is they run much cooler. They don't generate much heat. I was going to say, if you come up and feel this fixture here, it's warm, but it's not hot. And I live up in Muskoka, and I have 19 of those fixtures in my house, and it will melt. If we get a huge dump, sometimes it'll take a couple days to go through, and it will actually keep us like a hollow cylinder all the way down, and sometimes it can be 2-3 feet down. And even if they're covered slightly, the light does come through, and sometimes I think it's not a bad thing because there's no leaves on the tree, so I don't need as much light. So having it filter it down and soften it down, and it looks neat seeing them in the snow. It really does look good. But that's a great question. Yep. We do, normally we do, and that's typically almost a full day. And that's what we do with Linzell, is half the day was kind of talking about this stuff, and then the other half the day was in a training room about installing and techniques and things. I've already gone over our hour, and that's why I had to condense it down. So, yeah. I find that the best thing would be is to contact Shane or myself, and we'll come out and we'll actually set something up for you. If you sell a job, you don't know how to do it, like I'll tell anyone, if you guys can sell a job and don't know what to do with it, I'll come and help you for the day. And that's the best way to learn how to do it, because then there's a lot of little tricks and tips that take, that you learn along the way that you start to pass on and go, here, do it this way. It's a lot easier. It saves you time, that stuff. And that's probably the best way to learn is to do something like that. Or Linzell does offer training days because they've got a great training room that it can be pouring rain outside and you're nice and dry in there and it's all dark.
If you're interested in
coming down, just take one of my cards and reach out. And we're only doing small groups right now, but it's our pleasure to spend an hour with you there and do some practical and show you the warehouse, the showroom, the training room. As well, if you're doing a job sometime and you even have a drawing, just even a hand drawing. If you're wondering what lights are best and you want to email that to us, we're more than happy to use Photoshop there and help you come up with a plan until you kind of get more confident with the layout. Anything we can do for you, we're there.
And they mean it. They're all a super great group of people who work there, super knowledgeable and very helpful. And that's a lot of why Shane and Greg and all those guys are there, is as a resource. So don't be afraid to call and ask. These are all fantastic questions. Anybody else? We just got a couple minutes and then I got to get out of here.
Or maybe we can you can stick around for a few minutes and somebody has some questions, because we do have to move on. But we do have one more draw here. You want to pull one out there?